Dipoto, when asked about Winker. So this was asked quite a bit of me over the last couple of days. Also, Dipoto said Winker was away from the team because he was having surgery on his knee and will also eventually have neck surgery. Dipoto wasn't lying here. But the Ryan Divish comments are not made up. And Winker's, I'm going to use the word complacency. I don't think it's lazy. I think he's complacent. I think he's fighting new ideas and new things. That is something I heard through the grapevine in June and July. And he just did very, very little to change his teammates' mind and even some of the staff's mind on some of that stuff. But the team clearly is behind him. Dipoto said he expects Winker to be back to form. And this isn't just GM speak, though the fact that he said that could be. Because truly, there's no reason to think Winker all of a sudden just can't hit. And that maybe the injuries did have a much larger impact on his ability to play, especially hit. Dipoto did admit he couldn't possibly know exactly how much the injuries impacted Winker's performance, but that the knee thing was, most of the season, and that the neck thing was a little more serious than was led on, and it came on at a bad time. So Scott Servais was asked about Jesse Winker's work ethic. He said he was a little unlucky early. He didn't really answer the work ethic question satisfactorily, I don't think. And then the injuries, and they had a number of meetings with Winker to work on things and get him going. I think the fact that the club is openly and freely talking about how much they believe Winker will hit and return to form is suggestive the relationship between staff and players not entirely broken. But it also sounds like GM speak. Like, I don't think any of this was lip service by Servais and Dipoto. I really don't. They're just not those kind of people. But, like, what else are you going to say? The last thing you're going to do is rip a player that you might have to turn around and trade, right? So it's hard to take all of that at face value, although I don't think anything they said is a lie in any manner. To any extent, and I actually believe that it's true. I think Winker, as long as he gets healthy, returns to form for the most part. I really do. I'm not saying he's going to repeat 2021, but he should get back to where he was before that. 270, 350, 475, and he's probably mostly a DH. Now, having said that about the club and the player, the relationship not necessarily being entirely broken. What's the relationship like, though, between Winker and the players, and especially Mitch Haniger, especially if Haniger's going to be back, J.P. Crawford, Cal Raleigh, some of the Eugenio Suarez? What's his relationship like with those guys, with Julio, who's quickly becoming one of the leaders on the team, obviously? Like, I don't know the answer to that question, but that's what I'd be worried about more than anything. And I think at the end of the day, Jesse Winker either has to respond to the come to Jesus conversation with, you know what, you're right. This season completely threw me. I did not respond the way that a professional baseball player that wants to succeed and wants to fit in with a team and wants to be part of this responds, but I'm going to do it now. I am on board. Let's do this. Like, if he says that, awesome. Let's do it. Let's do it. That doesn't mean your off-season plans change at all. At all. Zero. But that would suggest to me that, okay, he can exist here. He can coexist here without being, he did it this year, without being a distraction to the team. But if he doesn't respond well to those requests and those types of conversations, he's got to go. And at the end of the day, if you can't hide how much of an issue he's been, and you get nothing for him, and you have to eat the money, then so be it. You do not let an $8 or $9 million player. You don't let any player, let alone an $8-9 million player that you only have under club control for one more year. You do not let him disrupt your path to the big time. Don't do it. You just don't do it. Jerry's not going to let that happen. Scott Servais is not going to let that happen. J.P. Crawford's not going to let that happen. Marco Gonzalez is not going to let that happen. Julio Rodriguez is not going to let that happen. Suarez, there's no way. There's absolutely no chance they let that go. So I lean pretty heavily toward Jesse Winker being traded in an either really super creative manner or just a very simple, we just got to get him out of here kind of a move. And if they get something for him that ends up working, great. If they don't, addition by subtraction. Service on Winker's role for the future is when Servais said, I think this has been blown out of proportion and that there absolutely is a spot for him on the club moving forward. Absolutely. More GM type speak, more manager speak, perhaps, but that's a pretty strong statement. Like, they would like to fix things with Winker is what I'm convinced of. And I think either they've already had those conversations with Winker and it went well, or they feel like it's going to go well. We'll see.